This is going to be the toughest fight of his career.
Sharp, relax.
The most embarrassing fight of his career.
Chair across your face.
Yeah, I think he's about to cry.
The boxing world is absolutely exploding right now, and Anthony Joshua stands at the very center of the storm. Legends, analysts, and former champions are publicly criticizing him for accepting what many describe as the easiest and most unnecessary fight of his entire career. The moment the Jake Paul vs Anthony Joshua matchup was made official, the community split in two, some calling Joshua a disgrace to the sport, while others defended him with everything they could muster.
Fight his 11th fight.
I don't know.
Who did Arthur Beterbiev fight? Jake Paul has found a way to make himself the cash cow early in his career to where we shouldn't care.
Jake Paul has become the fighter right now that everybody wants to fight because right now he is the cash cow. He made $40 million just off of Netflix.
He has found a way to do something with his following, get under people's skin to make people care about these fights.
What advice would you give to somebody like AJ?
That he has a lot of talent and not to get discouraged. He only loses when he quits. When you quit, all the doors of opportunities close. You know what I mean? You have to be game. And then don't get discouraged if you lose. Listen, you just lost. You may have got $30 million. You should give Usyk a kiss and say, can we do this again? Don't let this internalize you. Oh, I can't fight now. This white boy kicked my ass. People are laughing at me. No, he kicked my ass for $50 million or $30 million. I hope he kicks my ass again. But this time it might not work out that way. I'm gonna kick his ass. I just think the more time you lay off, the worse you get. You have to fight to be the best. You have to do it more and more and more.
What do you say to the people who say Anthony is ruining his legacy just by taking this fight?
Fans don't respect what he's done in the sport already. He's an Olympic gold medalist, two-time unified heavyweight champion of the world.
I sort of sympathize with him because I feel like if he doesn't beat him quicker than he beat Francis, people are just going to write it off. I'll ask you bluntly, have there been any discussions about there's an agreement, there's a secret contract? Have any of those discussions happened regarding this fight?
It's an 8-round professional fight. AJ wouldn't have taken it if that was the stance it had to be, if it was an exhibition, if it was you've got to hold him up for 8 rounds. It wouldn't suit Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua is going in there to knock out Jake Paul.
But if I can beat Jake Paul, then excuse my French, what the fuck is Anthony Joshua going to do to Jake Paul? I think my dad said that AJ could beat him with his prick, and I completely will back that up. Even if AJ had a broken arm in there, it still wouldn't go past a minute. To be quite honest with you, and as a safety aspect, there's no way that fight can go ahead. At the end of the day, my God, how good does it make me look? He gets beat by Jake Paul. Well, that automatically makes me 2-time heavyweight champion of the world, doesn't it? There's no proper way. I've got to laugh about it. How are we even talking about this? He got his nut boxed off by me a little over 2 years ago. And now all of a sudden, he's talking about fighting Anthony Joshua. It's like, come on. Like, you can't be serious. He can't beat me. I'm not Anthony Joshua, am I? So
the loudest voices in the room are boxing purists, critics, and even icons like Floyd Mayweather, who believe Joshua should never have agreed to this matchup. They argue that a 2-time heavyweight world champion should not be stepping into the ring with a YouTuber who has nowhere near the resume, the legacy, or the pedigree to deserve a fight of this magnitude. They say Joshua should be chasing the likes of Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Zhilei Zhang, or even Joe Joyce, fighters who actually pose a legitimate threat. Fighters who belong in this conversation. Fighters who have spent decades building themselves for a moment like this. And the idea that Joshua is instead fighting Jake Paul has been labeled embarrassing, legacy damaging, and downright humiliating for the heavyweight division. But then you have the other side of the argument, and it's far more layered than people want to admit. The truth is, Anthony Joshua is at a stage in his career where business matters just as much as legacy. Boxing is a brutal sport with a short window, and AJ has already faced some of the best heavyweights of his era. People forget he fought Andy Ruiz twice.
You know, that seems like a very friendly question to Jake, but you know what? It's a fair question. I'm not mad at the guy for phrasing his question that way. And again, yes, that's because Jake has a massive name and a massive spotlight. Without that, Jake is not fighting Anthony Joshua in his 14th fight. But on the other side of that, the risk involved with fighting Anthony Joshua here, and some of the fights that Jake had in his first 10 or 11 fights, most pros were either having or having worse opponents for. So when people discredit Jake's career by being like, he didn't fight this guy, he didn't fight that guy, he didn't fight a number of this contender, number that, look at your favorite fighter in their first 14 fights and you pick out the opponents that they had and the level of them. Sure, you'll have your outliers, your Vasily Lomachenko's and other guys that fought tough competition right away, but most, and I mean most meaning 95% of the sport of boxing, had tomato cans until he had 15 to 20 wins. Give Jake his credit. He's fought guys that even were better on his resume than some of your favorite fighters, and now he's fighting Joshua this early. That deserves the credit that I know and the acknowledgement that I know Jake is looking.
And it's a lose-lose for Anthony Joshua. However, given all of that, both men are going to make $92 million each. So forget my opinion. Who gives a damn? When you can bank $92 million for having a little move around in a boxing ring, fair play. You can't on that. However, let's talk about it. The reason I say that it's a lose-lose we'll start with Jake Paul first. The reason I say it's a win-win for Jake Paul is because, listen, if he wins, then he's beating a former heavyweight boxing world champion, certainly one of the best heavyweights of his generation, and of course, a man that is way bigger than Jake Paul. Of course, it's a win. And if he loses, it's still a win for Jake Paul because he had the balls. He was man enough. He was willing to test himself. He would prove everyone wrong, all his critics. Like me, by the way, I'm not like out there on an island by myself.
Alexander Usyk twice. Vladimir Klitschko when he was still dangerous. And he has pushed his body through wars that would have ended the careers of half the division. So when a once-in-a-lifetime payday appears, when a crossover mega fight lands on the table, when Netflix wants to turn a boxing match into the biggest global event since Mayweather versus McGregor, how can anyone realistically blame Anthony Joshua for signing that contract? And Joshua's supporters are firing back hard at the critics, saying that the same people calling this embarrassing are the ones who would accept the fight instantly if they were offered that amount of money.
That he should take the praise from that and build from it, but he shouldn't want the criticism to stop because I think it fuels him.
I'm one with you, and I said that to Joshua in one of the interviews that I'd done with him. I said to him, listen, I knew he was very angry with TalkSport and the criticism he was getting from TalkSport, etc. And I had that conversation with him and said, listen, Josh, you should be feeding off that. That's what good fighters do. You feed off that. Go and prove them wrong. That's where your fuel should be coming from. And I think to a certain extent he's sort of done that. I said, look, you're if people are talking about you, it's a good thing because that means that you're doing something right.
He wasn't ready for Anthony Joshua because Anthony Joshua was a different thing. Like it's just he's got more one-shot knockout power. He took it more seriously too.
I know he likes to switch in, but again, this is where the boxing is. If you don't have that kind of intellect in the boxing, that footwork and foot positioning is put your foot on one side, you're going to get killed. You put your foot on the other side, you're safe. You can kind of manage the power and see the punches coming. But he kept switching stances, but just leaving himself in just the wrong positions.
Yeah, he wasn't ready.
Wasn't ready. There was a lot of hype off the Fury fight.
Also, Joshua got to watch him box in the Fury fight and see some patterns. Fury, I think, probably took him lightly.
Yes, I think so.
He's one of the greatest of all time. This guy's never had a boxing match. At the beginning of the fight, he's like, time to go to school.
They say AJ has earned the right to do whatever he wants with his career. He has earned the right to secure his family financially for life. And anyone who disagrees is either jealous or completely delusional. They argue that this fight will bring more attention to boxing than any heavyweight matchup this entire year. And if Joshua delivers what everyone expects, he'll walk away with the biggest payday of his career and a highlight reel knockout heard around the world. The conversation now is no longer about boxing technique or skill. It's about pride, legacy, money, respect, and survival. It's about whether Anthony Joshua is avoiding tougher opponents or simply protecting his future. It's about whether Jake Paul is delusional, brilliant, or somehow both. And it's about whether this fight is a circus or the new reality of modern combat sports. One thing is certain, the boxing world is far from unified on this. Some legends are furious with Joshua for accepting the fight, calling it unnecessary and embarrassing, while others insist he's a smart businessman who understands the modern era better than anyone. And with the fight scheduled for December and both fighters already deep in training camp, the noise surrounding this matchup is only getting louder.